My name is Réžis ЖентЕ. I'm a French journalist based in Tbilisi since 20 years, and I'm covering for Radio France Internationale, France 24 TV, Le Figaro, and other French media mostly, the whole post-Soviet area, Russia, Caucasus, Central Asia, Ukraine, of course, and so on. The book I wanted to talk about, and I chose in this bibliothèque, is the one of Carlos Spottorno, who is a Spanish photographer, and did a trip in China Western. This is the title of the book, which is about Turkestan, or the Chinese Turkestan, let's say, the Xinjiang. And but I didn't choose exactly because it was about China, but for me, what is important in this book, it is because it is speaking about the region where I was attracted, not 20 years ago, but 50 years ago almost, when I was a kid. And because this is an image, just a single image, a very strange image, not really clear in my mind, that drove me in this part of the world. And as a French, born in a village, I would say, in the west part of France, I was attracted, as many European people, by the East, the Far East, which is the core of the Eurasian maverick, let's say. And I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, playing with my little cars in the ground floor of my grandmother's house, and sometimes having an eye on television, maybe black and white, who knows, I don't remember, and maybe not. And this image was coming from a movie, a series, by the way, like 4 or 5 episodes of Michel Strogoff, from the famous novel from Jules Verne, the French writer in the 19th century. And this image, extremely vague, because I was 4 or 5 years old, was about some king, some prince. In fact, it was the Khan of the Tatars, Keofar, as I remember, somewhere in the very far, very remote steppe, somewhere between Russia and Kazakhstan or Mongolia or somewhere like this. And he was on his horse, and I always kept this image on me. I don't know why, I have no idea. And this is really the power of the images, because I still kept it in mind always. And when I had to start to work and to go somewhere in the world to work, and I wanted to discover the world, I wanted to see how the history is made, how the history is moving. As a reflex almost, without thinking much, I decided, it was 20 years ago, to come to Caucasus, because for me it is the same old region, the Caucasus, Central Asia, the western part of China, which this book is speaking about. And I had to think then why I was attracted by these images. And I found the core ideas of emotions, I would say. It's more about emotion and ideas, even if I'm a man more of ideas than emotions and images. But the core in this book, and this is why also I bought it. I think what I was looking for, what this image contains, which is just the image of the Khan Keofar on his horse with his long moustache. It is certainly some idea of the wildness of the world, not only of this part of the world, but the whole world, of humanity, the wildness, the harshness of the life. And I was attracted by this. By the way, when then, growing up, I studied philosophy in Paris. By chance, I mean, it's ironical, it's not by chance, of course. I studied philosopher like Friedrich Nietzsche because of what he said about the tragedy, where you have to confront. And this is what is big in the life for a human being, as me, a small one, is to be confronted with the harshness of the world, with the tragedy of the world. This is where you meet it. This is where you live. And this is why I was attracted. So when I saw this book, I bought it as well. maybe because of this picture, but many others. This one you have all the things. You have the beauty of the world, the desert, the sky, the emptiness, which have its own poetry and so on, but also, I would say, the ugliness. What the humans, but it's not only about the humans, but what we do to this nature, the ugliness of the industry. And this book is full of pictures of smoke, industrial smokes in the cities. It's full of the Chinese propaganda. It's full of the police state. It's full of the cruelty of the world. Animals that you kill at the market. There's a picture with a dog which is just dead and cut because they eat the meat of the dog, and so on. But again, the idea is, and what you feel in this book, and I don't know if it was the idea of the author, of Carlos Spottorno, but it is this harshness, or this is what I found in this book, and really nicely, very nicely made. Of course, we know how precisely this part of the world, this Xinjiang, is today the theater of a terrible tragedy, because Chinese people decided to put probably more than 1 million Turkish-speaking people, Muslims, Chinese citizens, in camps that they call re-education camps, but in reality it's like concentration camps. They want to erase their culture and so on. So this is another example of this harshness of the world, that I have no romanticism, of course, after this, but you have to look at it. And as a journalist, this is probably why I came in this part of the world, in the Caucasus, in Central Asia, in Russia, to see that, to live also with that, because this is the world, this is the reality. And this is what I found in this book. Of course, China Western, it's about, it looks like about China, but for me, it was more than that. It is precisely also, and this is part of my job as a journalist too, and this is what I found in these pictures. It shows that the borders, that the politicians, the political regimes want to establish, to fix, wants to also use to erase the reality. For example, that the fact that in China there are also some Chinese people with different traditions, different language, that they want to erase it. And me, and this is why also I'm working in the whole region, because I feel this is I'm going beyond the borders, even if I'm fighting a lot with the visa and accreditation and so on to go from a country to another one. When I go to Tajikistan, to Uzbekistan, to Mongolia, to Russia to work, it's not easy, of course. But this is also what these pictures are showing, how the borders are one thing and the reality is something else. And this is what I found in this book. So you've got the beauty of the world, nice faces, nice deserts, nice lands, nice architecture of the past, and also all the ugliness. But I think this is Shakespeare who said something like, there is only, the beauty is only about the ugliness, or there is just the ugliness which is nice, something like this. I don't have the sentence in my mind, but shows how the humanity is also driven by that, and by the blurred boundaries between the beauty and the ugliness of the world. And this is probably why I'm here, driven by this image of this Tatar Khan, very cruel, at least depicted as cruel. I don't know what is the reality, what was the reality of this man. And this is probably I came to this region to lose myself and also to find myself, probably.